definitely get more of that music, but we're getting into this conversation in a moment. But just before we do, for those of us who are joining us with DSTV, we'll be transiting you to Anambra State in a moment. Beg your pardon, Adamawa State, my sincere apologies. Don't worry, Anambra is next week. Adamawa State University Mobi for the convocation ceremony happening right now. But if you would like to know more about AI, switch to YouTube. We're there waiting for you.
Certainly. And we're waiting with a couple of gentlemen talking about Nigeria's AI landscape. Caution or catalyst? You choose which works better for you or which you would like to see. And our guests, we have Dr. Adeoye, co-founder AI in Nigeria. He is with us here in the studio. Thank you for joining us on the program. And we also have David Olumuyiwa-Dada, author, generative AI, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you for joining us this morning on the program. Right, so artificial intelligence, as they say, is no longer a distant concept for Nigeria. AI is being used in Nigeria to improve services across sectors, and it's fast becoming the core of a lot of what we do. A vital force for transformation across industries, governance, and of course, everyday life. And when I say everyday life, I mean once you log into your system now, your laptop, your phone, you want to browse, there's always an aspect of AI. Our phones, our chat groups and everything is now AI focused.
Even the simple Google search will first of all give you AI option generation. But let's talk to let me begin with you, Mr. Adeoye. Is it a call for caution, or we should just see it as a catalyst? Because there are those who are wondering, AI, on the one hand, there is the fear that the AI will take jobs. I don't agree. I don't know if you do. But then there are also those who are saying, as fantastic as AI is, caution is the word. What's your take?
Thank you very much. I think I would say that AI is a catalyst, but you also need to be cautious. So I'm in between. I'm a student of innovation. AI is the fourth industrial revolution. For each of the revolutions, there's always been a pushback. There's been an uproar. So if you imagine, we're sitting in a studio where there's electricity. And imagine when electricity was invented, what the pushback and the noise will be. So trains, imagine the owners of horses and bulls and all that. So with AI in a country like Nigeria, there's a lot of things that AI will help with. Let's think about the population. 60% of the population is under the age of 25. If you think about this demography, a lot of them will benefit from AI. Even the older generation, government, industries like banking, agriculture, healthcare, education. There's a lot of coverage about, the emigration from Nigeria. I don't want to use the J word, but actually, there's going to be a lot of benefit in terms of being able to replace the losses.
We're not lost on the benefits are not lost on us. Yeah. It's the caution end, the part that people are wondering that if we just go all out on AI, people don't think anymore. I saw a report recently that says that people now tend to outsource their brains, so to speak, to AI. People can't hold intelligent conversations without AI. And it's almost easy for you, if you are a student of English language, to tell that this one has all the trappings of AI. So that's the caution, isn't it?
Okay, I was going to come to that, but it's good that you kind of brought it to the front. So you cannot use AI, deploy AI, adopt AI without governance. I said something somewhere a few days ago on a webinar. I said, AI innovation without governance is dangerous. It's just going like all these rides in amusement parks and you're not wearing belts. Imagine what will happen. There is the excitement and euphoria about AI, but what about the dangers? So first, let's start from education. There has to be a lot of guardrails in terms of being able to check and cross-check, what students are bringing in. If we look at, let's come to the media sector. I know it would be very easy for the new entrants into the sector to just take anything with AI and use it. There has to be a kind of editorial guardrail where there are tools and processes in place to check. So governance and guardrails are the key words.
Okay, well, perhaps that brings us to Mr. Dada in our Abuja studio. I know that you have been working with some teams about this governance structure for AI in the country. Give us an idea of what exactly these governance structures, if any, are. I know that there is a Nigeria AI policy, but whether or not the average Jones out there is aware, that's another thing altogether. What does it include? What are the things that we need to be careful about? Is AI a call for caution or a time to celebrate this catalyst?
And it's nice to see Dotto over there in Lagos. Most certainly AI is it's a very fantastic innovation that is going to increase our productivity as a race. It's going to make us a lot better. I tell people that AI is the evolution. It's not just an innovation. It's our evolution as a race. However, just like Dr. said, the adoption of AI must be with some guardrails. If we go all out and, without caution, without these guardrails, it's certainly going to be a disaster down the road. For us as a country, the beautiful thing is that the country is, is very, very proactive with the adoption of AI. We have a national AI strategy policy that dictates how this is implemented. So as an entity, as a country, I think we're on the right path with the adoption of AI. And then, of course, I'll say that the regulations and the stuff guiding the use and the adoption for government agencies and all of that, they are in place. For individuals, it's at your discretion, really, how you implement that. But unfortunately, the genie is out of the bottle. There is really little we can do in terms of curtailing. You were talking about people outsourcing their brain to AI. It's unfortunate. But there must be enough sensitization and education that AI without human supervision and human control, it's really not a safe thing to do.
Now, I'll stick with you for a bit and talk a little about that outsourcing. In academic education, for instance, it is getting to that point. In fact, I think you gentlemen, you may be aware of some higher institution that had to renegotiate or reconsider the results of a few students to be sure whether or not these are AI generated responses that they give. What is likely to be the effect of this discretionary use of AI by the individual on the future of education, on the future of performance? Because if the AI is more intelligent than the human, it is only natural that after some time we'll just outsource everything to AI. And the fears that some founders of AI have been expressing could actually become something where they're saying that we are afraid that AI may eliminate HI. So what are your thoughts on that?
So, you're just you're describing a likely future. Right now, that's just what you've painted. There is an era of singularity in artificial intelligence space. The era we call the era of singularity. This is when artificial intelligence become more intelligent than humans. Now, what we need to understand is that every time we use, especially the generative AI tools, we are feeding this technology with data. each time you use any artificial intelligence tool, you're actually providing data to this tool, and you're making the AI a lot more intelligent, maybe more than you. If you want to do a little exercise right now, if you've been using ChatGPT for upwards of 3 months, just go in there and prompt the tool to tell you about yourself. You'll be shocked what it will throw up at you. You'll be shocked at the level of accuracy. There is, talking about AI and education, really, for me, I don't think there is anything we can do against it. We just need to begin to look at how we can safely adopt AI in education. Because right now, they are a lot better. I mean, when Grok 4 was released, that's a generative AI tool, he could do a lot, of PhD research and all that better than the best of humans. All right, and we are still at the beginning. We've not even scratched the surface when it comes to the efficiency of and accuracy of these tools. So in reality, I don't think there is anything we can do against it. We just have to put those guardrails in place for safe adoption, even in education.
Right. So he said all that, and it's quite understandable that it's and if you can't beat them, join them situation. We're taking a look at the safety of this. There's some years back, like some decades back, we watched futuristic movies where robots take over the world, and and they keep humans hidden somewhere. Humans cannot no longer act. But how can we ensure that if we're joining the train and seeing that, there's nothing we can do about, AI taking over, or we using AI for, a larger percentage of what we do in the world now, how can we ensure that it doesn't erode human values, that those intrinsic values that we hold here are still in place? We can still be empathetic, we can still be mad if we want to be mad, we can still, do all those little things that make humans what humans are.
Thank you very much. I think one of the key things when AI is being adopted or rolled out is you need to begin to have ethics and governance committees, bodies. And how this works, I think, is you need to bring experts with government and different groups of practitioner and expertise together, where it's been done in certain countries, in some countries in Asia and South America, where you bring the best practitioners, you bring experts from governments, private sector, bring them together to formulate an ethics and governance guide for the adoption and usage of AI. And I think when we look into the Nigerian culture, there are certain things that are peculiar to us. We don't want AI to erode that. So we need to sort of ensure that we have a body that helps to dictate and sort of ensure that in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, AI does not displace our culture. And we just need to look at the ethical part as much as the governance part.
I'm wondering if we can train AI how to make a bar. Just say. If we have to teach it our culture. But to that, I also want to ask you something. Your team did what you call the Nigeria Artificial Intelligence Landscape Report.
Yeah.
What did you find out? Should we run for our bunkers?
Well, that's interesting, because this is the second one we are making, which we went across Nigeria and spoke to industry, policymakers, startups, experts, different across the ecosystem. There's hope, and there's also things to be aware of in terms of being ensure that we have the guardrails. But when we think about it, Nigeria is not North America, Nigeria is not Europe. We still have challenges. So for AI to thrive, you need to fire it. You need data, you need power, you need, so just put it, compute. So you need computation strength for processing, size, capacity, and you need power. You need storage. You need talent. So part of what we have seen is there's a lot of giant strides being taken, but there is also the opportunity to kind of increase in terms of capacity development, because there was a report that the actual experts across the whole of the African continent, which we kind of inferred, is less than 500 that has actually delivered AI. So within the landscape report, there's a lot of startup, and a lot of them in the financial services and fintech sector, in the agricultural sector, and all the other sectors. But one of the things we also found is opportunities to develop and fill certain gaps in terms of talent. Obviously, the infrastructure challenges, which is not peculiar to AI, which is a Nigerian challenge, they are there. So power is a big one, where if you're going to do anything in AI, it feeds on data. And if you're going to use data, that data has to be processed, it has to be stored somewhere. For it to be stored in somewhere, you need power. To even create any AI solution, you need power. So power, talent, even investment, these are some of the things that we brought out, but there's hope for the future.
Before I go to Mr. Dada, in terms of adoption by the people, in terms of how open people are to it, because there is no doubt people are inundated online now. All kinds of AI tools to do this, AI tools to do that, So in terms of adoption, what have you found out? What's the rate, if I can ask that, of adoption by the people?
Interesting question. There's been a lot of adoption in terms of tools, in terms of, I think the forerunners are the banking sector, the banking and the fintechs, for obvious reasons. Fraud prevention, customer service, operations management. So there's a lot of adoption within the banking sector. The telcos are also using it, and we have, within the agriculture sector, within the healthcare sector, some government portals are using it. So sectoral differences are there based on the obvious reasons, because, for instance, in the banking sector, you now have those on the other side, the criminals are also using AI. So they have to be ahead of the curve. Not all the banking sector players are using it, but they are at the forefront. Then you have the telcos, then you have the healthcare and agriculture. So we've discovered this, and it should be expected, because the banks are always ahead of adoption of new technologies, because obviously their business is the business of money.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Dada, on that same issue, but I'll take you up on the governance side. You mentioned something earlier about that, but I'd like you to expatiate a little further in this particular angle. Education, not just awareness. Clearly, we are aware that there is AI. But in terms of education, I think there is a lot that needs to be done. Added to the fact that the people who are going to authorize the use or authorize adoption or authorize education, they may not be aware themselves. As Mr. Adeye said earlier, a good number of our population, 60-70% or thereabout, are under the age of 35. So, incidentally or interestingly, the people that are going to sign up on a number of things are way older. So getting them to understand the need to do this, while the young people are already fast adopting, almost without adequate literacy of what AI is, the dangers, the trappings, the guardrails, and all of that you mentioned. What's our challenge here? What do we need to do?
Yeah, so you've basically mentioned that already. Awareness and education, especially for those who are outside, I would say maybe the millennials, the generations before the millennials. Like you rightly said, those are the people who will sign off on most of these things. But from our own experience implementing various AI solutions across the country, we've discovered that there is still, you see, these people are still grappling with the internet. they are yet to fully embrace the use of the internet. And then now you're talking about artificial intelligence. So you're just compounding the whole thing for them. They're struggling, with all of that. But there must be that open-mindedness towards technology, especially with people of older ages. I was excited when I read some months ago that INEC, set up a department for artificial intelligence. So whether we like it or not, AI is going to play a big role in our elections from 2027 perhaps. Whether INEC adopts that or not, most certainly AI is going to have an impact on it. If they don't have a grip on that now, they will be playing catch up by 2027. And that it's going to be very dangerous. So it's very important for this demography to quickly learn how to use and how to adopt. But I'm very glad to see what our government is doing with respect to adopting AI across board. For instance, we have the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics that are playing a big role in the adoption of AI, for government agencies and parastatals. Also, I am aware NASENI is getting into a lot of things about research and all of that. And of course, NICDA is sitting on top of all these agencies, supervising under the Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy. So there's a lot that the government is doing, but the real users, the people who are going to be implementing this, the people who are going to be signing it off, like you put it, those are the people we need to pay attention to. I normally say this: there is nothing you do as a project manager implementing a technology or driving the adoption of a technology if the users, if the off-takers of that innovation are not trained and they are not open to it. No matter how beautiful that technology is, it's most likely not going to succeed. So it's important that people in government, people who are decision makers, especially those of older generations, it's important that they begin to become open-minded about this technology and begin to go through all the trainings they can get themselves into so that we can have a very safe environment for the adoption of artificial intelligence. On the individual levels, what we've seen is people just excited about generative AI. Generative AI is just a branch of artificial intelligence, very powerful. However, that is not all about AI, okay? Yeah, we see a lot of content makers, but they have this tool at their disposal, and so they can.
My apologies, Mr.
Fantastic stuff.
We'll come back to those guys.
Believe me, AI is beyond just content.
We'll come back. We'll come back to those users that you talk about, but let's stick with those policy people for a bit. You have spoken to what the federal government is doing. How about the states? Now, why is this important? And I think, gentlemen, you will agree with me. The 50-something, 60-something year olds are the ones who hold the pen. You remember, Mr. Dada, for instance, that in the days when we talked about security, cyber security, it's the young people that understood it. The old people, when you tell them this is how much it's going to cost, they're wondering why, right? They don't even understand it. So how do we get them to understand that? When I have this analogy in my head, that in the days that the people who called for independence of Nigeria were doing that, they were in their 20s and 30s. Their parents had no idea what education was, but as far as they were concerned, if it was working, then they encouraged their children. How do we encourage how do we get the people who need this understanding, that even if you don't fully understand it, accept that it is something that is good for the country? Other nations are already leaving us behind. The automobile industry needs it. Banking has already fully adopted it. You are talking about content creators and all. We've been talking about a made in Nigeria, a producing nation angle for us, the Nigeria First initiative from the federal government. But it's not just the federal government we have to speak to. Now we have to speak to the local government. We have to speak with the state government. So how do we do this in a way that they see what they don't understand, that is good for the nation?
Yeah, so it's very important that it starts from the federal government. It's very, very important that we have it as a policy. Now, once that is taken care of, it's easier for it to trickle down to the states and probably the local government. Now, if we have missed it, or if we miss it from the federal level, then it will be disjointed going down the pyramid. Now, this is a change that everybody must adopt and must accept. I mean, it's no longer a debate of if, it's a matter of when. All right, and as soon as we realize that, we'll start, working our way into it. Now, when you look at change management, in the pyramid of change management, there are forces of change that will make people adopt innovations or changes. If you don't do it willingly, the forces of change will kick in and force you to take on that. When you look at the internet boom, when the .com boom, when the internet came in, even banks that were supposed to be early adopters, they were very, very cynical about the internet. But about 5 years down the line, when it first came in, they saw the benefit, and they were one of the first people to go, all the way in adopting the internet. And then you saw how in less than a decade, everyone started coming online, because the forces of change, everybody saw that we can, we used to say that if your business is not on the internet, then you don't have a business, So those are forces of change within the environment, within us as individuals, taking us along, that drive to ensure safe adoption of technology. Now, that is exactly what is going to happen, even with this AI phenomenon. If the people in government, the people in power, refuse to take the initiative and adopt this technology, believe me, the forces of change will bring about the adoption. And at that point, they will be playing catch up, and it will be a lot more difficult for them. But if they take the initiative now and adopt it, look, the train has left the station. There is nothing we can do about that. And the earlier we realize that, the better. So we need to begin to look at how to adopt this technology. And one of the beautiful things for me, and for us as an organization, is seeing that the federal government has taken that initiative by giving us a national AI strategy document. That's a policy. I've been through that, and it's a very fantastic thing, to see. If they can drive that across board, I don't think we'll have any issues with the adoption of AI, with government agencies and parastatals. And of course, those are the people that we need to be looking at right now.
Mr. Adey, do you agree with him?
It's covered a lot of good points, and I think that basically the federal government has to start with the push. The states, local governments will also have to do something in the AI space. But one of the challenges is actually the knowledge of AI to a lot of the policymakers and a lot of the people in power. You gave the example of the independence push, where the parents were just following what their children were doing. They didn't have much knowledge of the clamor for independence and all the things that were happening. When you think about the adoption curve of any new technology, it normally starts with individuals. It's normally B2C. So, and then when you drill down further, you find that it's usually the younger people that will adopt it first, and that's the same thing is happening in AI. So I think one of the things that my organization is currently doing, we have a policymaker network where basically we're gradually trying to bring more and more of the policymakers, not at the federal level, but at the state and the local government level, to understand and begin to imbibe, just even understand what AI is, what it can do, and what it can do, most importantly, because at this level, those in power I think, yes, they know what it can do to an extent, and most of the time what they know is about generative AI. But it's better to also tell them and show them, let them know what it cannot do. You mentioned EBA, as an example. That's subjective, but maybe that's what you want to eat for lunch. But I think ultimately education is important for them. There are different forums and forums which they can plug into, but some of them don't know. So I think the education of the capacity and the danger both of AI is important for the subnational and local government level.
Well, we're out of time. I know, Joker, we'll round this off now, but just in 30 seconds, how easy is it? Will it help, for instance, for people to adopt AI quicker if it came in their language?
I believe so. Because when something is in your language, your brain receives it quicker. But adopting quicker or slower is not the question, but responsibly.
Yeah. Okay. Quite interesting conversation. I don't know where we go from there.
Don't even start.
We have to go. As they're saying, thank you. Dr. Adui is co-founder AI in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio and for this conversation. David Olubiyiwa-Dada, author, generative AI. He joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you again for joining us and for discussing this important topic.
Now, for those who are afraid that AI is going to take their jobs, AI is an input device.
Yes.
So not output. Until it gets to the point of outputting. Input first. But for now, what are you inputting into your heart?
Yes.
What does your heart really even want?
Yes, not the emotional part.
Not the emotional part.
Physical heart.
We'll find out about that.
Itself.